Yuna couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those scars. The pattern of them across Minho's body haunted her thoughts. She had been trained as a warrior, taught to recognize wounds and damage, but she had never seen anything like what she witnessed on that human's body. In the morning, she skipped her usual training session. Instead, she went straight back to Starlight Terrace. The restaurant looked different in the daylight that came through the windows from the nearby star. It was quieter, with only a few customers having breakfast. Yuna asked the host if she could speak with Minho. The host, a tall alien with 4 eyes, looked surprised but went to find him. A few minutes later, Minho appeared wearing a fresh uniform. He looked tired but gave her a polite smile. "Miss Yuna," he said. "How can I help you?" "I need to talk to you," Yuna said. "About yesterday. About Earth, please. I can't stop thinking about it." Minho studied her face for a moment, then nodded. "I'm on break in 10 minutes. Meet me at the station observation deck on level 7. Yuna agreed and waited. When Minho arrived, he had 2 cups of coffee with him. He offered her one. "Try it. It's from Earth." Yuna took the cup carefully. The liquid inside was dark and smelled strong. She sipped it and immediately made a face. It was bitter and burned her tongue. Minho laughed. "Yeah, most aliens hate it. It's an acquired taste. Coffee has caffeine, which is actually toxic to a lot of species. Humans drink it to wake up." "You drink poison to wake up?" Yuna asked in shock. "Mild poison," Minho corrected. "Our bodies handle it fine. Actually, we consume a lot of things that are toxic. Alcohol is poison too, technically. So is the spicy food we love. We eat plants that try to hurt us because we think they taste good." Yuna set the coffee down. "I don't understand your species at all." "That's fair," Minho said. "Most aliens don't. That's why I agreed to talk to you. You actually seem curious rather than just scared or disgusted." They sat on a bench facing the large window that showed space outside. Ships moved past like slow fish in a dark ocean. "Tell me about Earth," Yuna said. "Please, I need to understand." Minho was quiet for a moment, organizing his thoughts. "Earth is beautiful," he began. "It has blue oceans, green forests, white mountains, golden deserts. It's the most beautiful place I've ever seen, but it's also incredibly dangerous. Because it's a Class 12 death world." "Right. The gravity is 30% higher than galactic standard. That's why we're shorter and denser than a lot of species. Our bones and muscles had to adapt to not being crushed by our own planet." Yuna thought about this. Velrans came from a planet with low gravity. They were tall and light, built for jumping and quick movement. The idea of growing up under heavy gravity was hard to imagine. "The temperature on Earth changes drastically," Minho continued. "Some places are so hot they can cook you. Others are so cold your blood would freeze, and these extremes can happen on the same continent, just in different seasons." "Seasons?" "Our planet tilts on its axis, so different parts get more or less sunlight during the year. This means the temperature changes constantly. We have to prepare for both extreme heat and extreme cold." Yuna's planet had stable temperatures year-round. The idea of constant change sounded exhausting. "Then there are the predators," Minho said, his voice getting quieter. "Earth has thousands of species that evolved to hunt and kill. Some have claws like knives. Others have venom that can stop your heart. Some are bigger than vehicles. Others are tiny but deadly. We had to become smart and tough because we were surrounded by things that wanted to eat us." "Is that where you got those scars? From predators?" "Some of them. The claw marks, yes. But most of my scars are from accidents, illness, or medical procedures. That's what makes Earth so dangerous. It's not just the obvious threats. It's everything." At that moment, Hana and Jiho arrived. Minho had apparently asked them to come. They sat down with their own cups of coffee. "Minho told us you wanted to know about Earth," Hana said. "We thought it might help if you heard from more than one person. So you know he's not exaggerating." "Are all humans like you 3? Yuna asked. "With so many scars?" "Pretty much," Jiho said. He pushed up his sleeves, revealing more scars. "This one is from when I broke my arm playing soccer. This one is from surgery to fix my knee. These little ones are from chickenpox, a disease human children usually get. This bigger one is from a motorcycle accident." "What's a motorcycle?" Yuna asked. "A fast vehicle with 2 wheels. Really fun to ride, but dangerous if you crash," Jiho explained. "I crashed." Hana showed her arms too. "This is from falling through a glass door when I was 8. This one is from getting my wisdom teeth removed. Those are teeth that grow in wrong and have to be cut out. This is from a dog bite. A dog is an animal we keep as pets, but sometimes they bite. You keep predators as pets? Yuna's voice was getting higher. Dogs aren't really predators anymore. We domesticated them thousands of years ago. Now they're our friends. But yeah, they still have teeth and instincts, Hana said with a shrug. Minho pulled out a small device from his pocket. Here, let me show you something. This is my medical file. All humans who work in space have to keep one. He projected the file into the air as a hologram. Yuna started reading and her eyes grew wider with each line. Age 3, broken finger from closing door on hand. Age 5, concussion from fall. Age 7, stitches required for cut on leg. Age 9, broken wrist from fall during play. Age 11, surgery to remove object swallowed accidentally. Age 12, broken collarbone from bicycle accident. Age 14, severe sunburn requiring medical treatment. Age 16, second-degree burns from kitchen accident. The list went on and on. Injuries, surgeries, illnesses, broken bones, infections. Page after page of near-death experiences, all survived. This is 47 pages. Yuna whispered. You're only 26 years old. Like we said, Earth is dangerous, Minho replied. Every human you meet has a file like this. Some worse, some a bit better, but we all have stories. How do human children survive? Yuna asked. How do any of you reach adulthood? Hana's expression became serious. A lot don't. Before we developed good medicine, almost half of human children died before age 5. Even now, with all our hospitals and doctors, growing up on Earth is risky. Parents have to watch their kids constantly. We're born fighters, Jiho added. We have to be. Earth doesn't give us a choice. Yuna looked out at the stars. She had always thought her people were strong. Velrans trained for combat, built their bodies, practiced with weapons. But they trained in safe environments with teachers and protective gear. The worst that usually happened was a bruised ego or a minor cut. Humans didn't train to survive. They survived to live. Every day of their childhood was a test. Why do you leave? Yuna asked suddenly. If Earth is your home and you're adapted to it, why come to space? The three humans smiled at each other. Because we're curious, Minho said. Because Earth taught us to explore and adapt and never give up. We spent 1,000,000 years surviving our planet. Now we want to see what else is out there. Plus, Jiho added with a grin, if we can survive Earth, we can survive anywhere. Yuna realized he was right. These humans walked through the station without fear. They worked long hours without complaint. They handled rude customers with patience. Because compared to growing up on a death world, everything else was easy. She had called them weak. She had laughed at them. She had been so wrong. On the 4th day, Yuna finally left her quarters. She walked through the station with different eyes. Now when she saw humans working at shops, repairing equipment, or serving customers, she noticed details she had missed before. A human mechanic had scars on his hands from burns and cuts. A human shopkeeper moved with a slight limp, probably from an old injury. A human cleaning crew laughed together while working, and when one of them pushed up their sleeves, Yuna saw the familiar pattern of surgical scars. They were everywhere, these survivors. And nobody else seemed to notice or care. Yuna made her way back to Starlight Terrace. It was early evening, and the restaurant was starting to fill with dinner customers. She asked to speak with Minho again, and the host went to find him. When Minho appeared, he looked surprised to see her. Miss Yuna, you're back. Can we talk? She asked. Please. One more time. Minho glanced at the filling restaurant. I'm about to start my shift, but I have a few minutes. Let's sit outside. They went to the corridor outside the restaurant where there were benches along the windows. The view showed a distant nebula, glowing purple and blue against the black of space. Yuna sat down and took a deep breath. I want to apologize. Really apologize, not just for tearing your shirt, but for everything. Minho sat beside her, patient as always. You already apologized. No, I didn't, not properly. Yuna turned to face him. I spent 4 days learning everything I could about humans and Earth. I read the databases. I watched videos. I studied your history and biology. And I realized something terrible. What's that? My people are proud warriors. We train from childhood to be strong and skilled. We build our entire culture around military strength and honor. We think we're the best fighters in the galaxy. Yuna's voice cracked slightly. But we've never been tested. Not really. We train in safe environments with rules and teachers. The worst that happens is bruises and wounded pride. She looked at Minho's face. You didn't train to be strong. You survived to live. Every scar on your body is proof of a moment where you almost died. And you have dozens of them. You survived dozens of near-death experiences just from growing up. That's just normal for us, Minho said quietly. That's what makes it so terrifying. Yuna's crystalline skin flickered with emotion. Normal for you would kill most of us. My people brag about being warriors, but compared to humans, we're playing pretend. We don't know what real survival means. Minho was quiet for a long moment. You're being too hard on yourself. Am I? Tell me honestly. If a Velran and a human were dropped on Earth with no help, who would survive? The human, Minho admitted. But that's not a fair comparison. Drop us both on your home planet and you'd have the advantage. For how long? Yuna challenged. Humans adapt. That's what you do. You'd figure it out. You'd survive, because that's what Earth taught you. Minho couldn't argue with that. It was true, I mocked you, Yuna said, her voice soft now. I laughed at humans. Called you weak and primitive. My friends and I sat at that table and insulted your entire species while you served us food. And you just took it. You stayed professional and kind. It wasn't the first time, Minho said with a slight smile. Won't be the last. Most aliens think we're weak. We're used to it, but you're not weak. You're the opposite. And I was too blind and arrogant to see it. Yuna looked down at her hands. They were smooth and unmarked, protected her whole life. I've never really fought for anything. Never really suffered. Never really been tested. I'm a warrior in name only, Yuna, Minho said gently. You're not weak either. You just come from a different world. That's okay, is it? Because now I know the truth. Humans are stronger than any of us. Not because you have better technology or bigger muscles, but because you have something we don't. What's that? You refuse to die. Yuna met his eyes. Earth spent millions of years trying to kill your species. Predators, diseases, disasters, your own planet turning against you. And humans just said no. You refused to give up. You refused to go extinct. You survived everything and then decided to explore space just because you were curious. She laughed, but it sounded sad. Do you know what the Galactic Council really thinks about humans? I found the classified files. They're scared of you. Terrified. Because every other species in the galaxy came from safe planets, or they were given technology by older species, or they had natural advantages. But humans? You clawed your way up from a death world with nothing but determination. Minho shifted uncomfortably. We're not trying to scare anyone. I know. That makes it worse. You're not even trying to be intimidating. You're just being yourselves, and that's enough. Yuna stood up and bowed deeply, a sign of great respect in Velran culture. I'm sorry for my ignorance. I'm sorry for my disrespect, and I'm sorry that my people and most of the galaxy don't understand what humans really are. Minho stood too. Apology accepted. But really, it's okay. We know we're new to galactic society. We know we're different. We're not offended when people don't understand us. You should be, Yuna said. You deserve respect. Maybe. Minho smiled. But we'd rather earn it through actions than demand it. That's the human way too. They walked back toward the restaurant entrance together. As they reached the door, Yuna saw a group of young aliens at a nearby shop. They were laughing and pointing at a human worker who was restocking shelves. One of them was clearly making fun of how the human looked. Something hot and angry flared in Yuna's chest. She changed direction and walked toward them. Hey, she called out. The young aliens turned, surprised. They recognized her as Velran nobility and immediately looked nervous. That human you're mocking, Yuna said, her voice hard. Do you know what he survived just to be standing here today? The aliens looked confused. One of them, a reptilian youth, spoke up. He's just a human. They're weak. Weak? Yuna moved closer. That weak human comes from a Class 12 death world. The gravity alone would crush your bones. The atmosphere would poison your lungs. The wildlife would eat you in minutes. And he survived all of that just by growing up. The reptilian alien looked less confident now. So what? Lots of species come from tough planets. Name one other species from a Class 12 death world currently in the Galactic Council. Silence. The young aliens looked at each other. There aren't any, Yuna continued, because death worlds kill everything. Except humans. They not only survived, they thrived. They turned the most dangerous planet in known space into their home. And now they're here, working and living among us, and idiots like you mock them. She pointed at the human worker who was watching this exchange with wide eyes. That human has survived more in his lifetime than you will in 10 of yours. Every scar on his body is a story of near death that he overcame. Show some respect. The young aliens mumbled apologies and quickly left. The human worker approached Yuna cautiously. Thank you, he said softly. His name tag read Doyun. Don't thank me, Yuna replied. I was just as ignorant as them a few days ago. I'm still learning, Doyun smiled. Well, we appreciate it anyway. Not many aliens stand up for us. Yuna watched him return to work. She felt Minho's presence beside her. That was kind of you, Minho said. It was deserved. Your species deserves better treatment. We'll earn it eventually. Give it time. Yuna looked at him seriously. Why do humans come to the stars, really? You could stay on Earth where you're adapted and comfortable. Why risk living among species that don't understand or respect you? Minho thought about the question. He looked out the window at the stars beyond. Because we're curious. Because we want to learn and grow. Because Earth taught us to explore and never stop pushing forward. We survived our planet and now we want to see what else the universe has to offer. Even if it's hard? Especially if it's hard. Minho grinned. Easy is boring. Humans like challenges. Yuna laughed, really laughed, for the first time in days. You're all crazy. Probably, Minho agreed cheerfully. But it works for us, he checked his watch. I really need to start my shift now. Will you be okay? I'll be fine. Thank you, Minho, for your patience, your time, and your honesty. Anytime. He paused. And Yuna? You're not as bad as you think. The fact that you wanted to learn and understand. That makes you better than most aliens we meet. Most never bother to ask. As Minho went back to work, Yuna stood by the window and watched the stars. She thought about her species, so proud of their warrior culture, but untested in real survival. She thought about humans, carrying their scars like medals and refusing to be defeated by anything. She thought about what it meant to be truly strong, and she realized that strength wasn't just about combat training or physical power. Real strength was surviving when everything tried to kill you. Real strength was getting back up every time you fell. Real strength was exploring the unknown even when it scared you. Humans had that strength. They had earned it through millions of years of fighting their own planet. The rest of the galaxy was only beginning to understand what that meant. Yuna made a decision. She would tell her people what she learned. She would make sure Velrans understood that humans weren't weak primitives. They were survivors of the highest order. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy would start showing humans the respect they deserved, because every scar told a story. Every human was a survivor, and that was something worth honoring. Yuna spent the next 3 days obsessed with learning about humans. She barely left her quarters except to eat and use the bathroom. Her friends sent messages asking if she was okay, but she ignored them. She had to know more. The Galactic database had information on every member species, including the newest ones like humanity. Yuna pulled up Earth's entry and started reading everything she could find. Planet name, Earth. Classification, Class 12 Death World. Warning, unsafe for most known species. Proceed with extreme caution. The basic facts were shocking enough. The gravity, the temperature changes, the dangerous wildlife. But as Yuna dug deeper, she found details that made her feel cold inside. Earth's atmosphere contained oxygen at much higher levels than most planets. This oxygen was highly reactive and slowly damaged everything it touched, including human bodies. Humans literally rusted from the inside as they aged. They called it oxidative stress. Their own air was poisoning them slowly, and they had evolved to just deal with it. The planet's sun sent out radiation that could cause deadly diseases. Humans had to cover their skin or risk cancer, a condition where their own cells turned against them and grew out of control. This could happen to any human at any time, just from living under their sun. Earth experienced regular natural disasters that could destroy entire cities. Earthquakes that shook the ground apart, hurricanes with winds strong enough to throw vehicles through the air, floods that drowned thousands, volcanoes that buried towns in hot ash, fires that consumed forests and homes, and humans just rebuilt and continued living there. Yuna found a video file showing a human city being hit by a hurricane. She watched buildings shake and trees bend almost to the ground. Water flooded the streets. The wind howled like a living thing. When it was over, humans emerged from their shelters and immediately started cleaning up and repairing. Within weeks, the city was functioning again. On Yuna's planet, a storm like that would be remembered for generations. On Earth, it was called hurricane season and happened every year. She discovered that humans were pursuit predators. Their ancestors had hunted by chasing animals for hours or even days until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Humans could run slowly but for incredibly long distances. They cooled their bodies by sweating through their skin, which meant they didn't overheat like most predators. They just kept coming, unstoppable and patient. Yuna imagined being hunted by a human, not being caught quickly in a fight but being followed endlessly until you had no energy left to run. It was terrifying in a way that was different from facing a traditional predator. The database had a section on human biology that fascinated and horrified her. Humans had redundant organs. If one kidney failed, the other could do the work. If part of their liver was damaged, it could grow back. Their bones could break and heal stronger than before. Their skin could be cut deep and seal itself back together within weeks. They felt pain like any species, but they had enormous tolerance for it. Humans could function with broken bones, torn muscles, and serious injuries that would leave most aliens unconscious. There were stories of humans walking for miles with broken legs to get help, or continuing to work while having heart attacks. Human medicine was even more shocking. Yuna read about their surgical procedures and felt sick. They would cut humans open, remove organs, fix or replace them, and then sew the person back up. And humans usually survived this. They expected to survive it. They called it routine surgery. When humans got sick, their bodies would raise their own temperature to kill the infection. This fever could make them delirious and weak, but they saw it as a good sign. Their bodies were fighting back. Most aliens would die if their temperature rose that much. Yuna found a military database next. 3 years ago, when humans first entered galactic space, they had immediately encountered the Krellian swarm. The swarm was an aggressive insect species that attacked anything new. Most species fled from the swarm and called for help from the Galactic Defense Force. Humans didn't flee. Yuna watched combat footage with her hands shaking. Human soldiers fought in ways that seemed insane. They didn't retreat when injured. They used their own bodies as shields for their teammates. They set traps that hurt themselves as much as the enemy. They fought hand-to-hand against creatures with natural weapons using only tools and determination. One video showed a human soldier with a broken arm still firing her weapon. Another showed a human dragging 2 wounded comrades to safety, while bleeding from multiple wounds himself. A third showed human medics running into active combat zones to treat the injured, completely exposed to enemy fire. The swarm had never faced anything like them. Species that fought back usually did so carefully, with tactics focused on survival. Humans fought with tactics focused on winning, even if it cost them everything. The war lasted 3 weeks. The Krellians retreated in confusion. They had never encountered a species that simply refused to stop fighting, no matter how much damage they took. Human casualties were terrible. Thousands died, but they had won. The Galactic Council accepted humanity's application for membership the next day. Not because they liked humans, because they were afraid of what humans might do if rejected. Yuna found psychological studies done by alien researchers trying to understand humans. The conclusions were disturbing. Humans bonded intensely with each other, even with non-family members. They would sacrifice themselves for strangers. They formed what they called friendships that were as strong as family ties in other species. They even bonded with other species, treating alien pets and companions like they were human children. This pack bonding extended to ideas and places too. Humans would die for concepts like freedom or justice. They would fight to protect land they considered home, even if they could easily move somewhere safer. They became attached to things in ways that seemed irrational, but this bonding made them incredibly loyal and determined. Once humans decided something was worth protecting, they didn't give up, ever. Yuna read about human history and felt overwhelmed. They had survived ice ages that covered their planet in snow. They had survived plagues that killed millions. They had survived wars against each other that used terrible weapons. They had survived extinction-level disasters multiple times. Each time they came back, they rebuilt, they adapted, they kept going. There was a quote from a human philosopher that stuck in Yuna's mind. "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." Humans believed that suffering made them better. They saw their scars as proof of their strength. They were proud of what they had survived. Yuna thought about her own life. She had trained in combat but never fought a real battle. She had studied war but never experienced it. She had been raised in comfort and safety, with medical care always available and threats kept far away. She had called herself a warrior, but what had she ever really fought? Meanwhile, every human on this station had fought just to grow up. Every human had survived what would kill most galactic citizens. Every human carried proof of their battles on their own skin. Yuna finally understood what she had seen in Minho's eyes when she tore his shirt. It wasn't anger or embarrassment. It was patience. The patience of someone who had survived much worse than a drunk alien grabbing them. Humans had conquered the most dangerous planet in the known galaxy. They had turned a death world into a home. And now they were walking among the stars like it was easy, because compared to Earth it was easy. Yuna closed the database and sat in the darkness of her quarters. She felt small. She felt naive. She had thought her species was strong, thought she understood what strength meant, but she had never been tested. Not really, and she hoped she never would be because now she knew the truth. The galaxy wasn't ready for humans. None of them were. The silence in the restaurant felt heavy. Everyone was looking at their table now. Yuna's friends had stopped laughing. They stared at Minho with wide eyes, seeing what Yuna saw. The human server stood there with his torn shirt hanging open, revealing a body marked by violence and pain. He didn't try to cover himself. He didn't look ashamed. He just waited patiently for someone to speak. Yuna found her voice, though it shook. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." "It's all right, miss," Minho interrupted gently. "Accidents happen. I've had worse than a torn shirt." That sentence made Yuna's stomach feel cold. Looking at his scars, she believed him completely. "But your body," one of her friends whispered. "What battle were you in?" Minho looked down at himself as if seeing his scars for the first time in years. He touched the long mark on his arm thoughtfully. "This one? I was 12 years old. I fell off my bicycle and broke my collarbone. It cut through the skin when it snapped." Yuna blinked. "A bicycle?" "A vehicle children use on Earth," Minho explained. "It has 2 wheels. You ride it for fun. You got that scar from playing?" Another Velran asked in disbelief. Minho nodded and pointed to his shoulder. "These burns are from when I was 16. My younger brother knocked over a pot of boiling water in the kitchen. I pulled him out of the way. He was fine, but I got burned." His finger moved to his ribs. "This damage is from a car accident when I was 19. A car is another vehicle we use. Another driver hit us at high speed. I broke 3 ribs and punctured a lung." "And you survived?" Yuna asked, horrified. "Obviously," Minho said with a small smile. "The doctors fixed me up. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital." He showed them the surgical scar. "This is from my appendix removal. It's a small organ humans have that serves no purpose anymore. Sometimes it gets infected and tries to kill us, so we have to cut it out. I was 21. Yuna's head was spinning, and not from the alcohol anymore. "These are just normal things? These all happened during normal life?" "More or less," Minho replied. "The claw marks are from a camping trip. A wild animal attacked our tent. And these smaller ones are from sports, accidents, medical procedures. Pretty standard for a human." A Velran at the table leaned back in his chair, looking pale. "In their culture, warriors trained for years before seeing combat. Injuries were rare and treated as serious events. But this human had collected scars like they were nothing just from living his life." The restaurant manager rushed over, a nervous alien with 6 arms and green skin. "Minho, what happened?" "Are you all right?" "I'm fine, sir," Minho said. "Just a torn shirt. It was an accident." "Take the rest of the night off," the manager insisted. "Go change. I'll have someone cover your tables." "Thank you, sir." Minho turned to leave, but Yuna reached out again, more carefully this time. "Wait, please. How old are you?" 26, Minho answered. 26 years old, and his body looked like he had fought in 10 wars. Yuna was 24, trained in combat since childhood, and she had 1 small scar from a training blade. Just 1. As Minho started to walk away, 2 other humans in restaurant uniforms appeared from the kitchen area. They had clearly heard the commotion. One was a woman with her dark hair tied back, her name tag reading Hana. The other was a young man with glasses named Jiho. "You okay?" Hana asked Minho, her eyes checking him over with the practiced look of someone who had dealt with injuries before. "Fine, just need a new shirt," Minho replied. But Yuna was staring again. Hana's arms were visible below her short sleeves. She had scars too, a long surgical line on her forearm, several small circular marks that might have been burns, a twisted scar on her wrist that suggested broken bones. Jiho wore long sleeves, but his hands showed marks as well. His knuckles were scarred and one finger bent at a slightly wrong angle. "You're all like this?" Yuna breathed. "All humans?" The three humans looked at each other, then back at her. They seemed confused by the question. "Like what?" Jiho asked. "Scarred, damaged, marked by—" Yuna struggled to find the words. "By violence." Hana laughed, but it wasn't a cruel laugh. It was the laugh of someone who found the comment genuinely funny. "These aren't from violence. Well, not on purpose anyway. This is just what happens when you grow up on Earth." "Earth must be a war zone," one of Yuna's friends said quietly. "No," Minho said. "Not anymore anyway. We have peace now. These are just from everyday life." Yuna stood up, steadier now. The alcohol had completely left her system, burned away by shock and confusion. "I don't understand. How can everyday life do this to you?" The three humans exchanged glances again. Hana spoke first. "Have you ever looked at Earth's classification in the Galactic database?" "No," Yuna admitted. "Why would I? It's just some new planet." "You should," Jiho said softly. "Earth is rated as a Class 12 death world." The words hit Yuna like a physical blow. She knew what that meant. Every galactic citizen learned the planet classifications. Class 12 was the highest danger rating. It meant a planet was actively hostile to life. Most species avoided death worlds entirely. "That's impossible," Yuna said. "If Earth is that dangerous, how do you have billions of people living there?" "Because we're adapted to it," Minho explained. "We evolved there. It's our home. But yeah, to most species in the galaxy, Earth would kill you pretty quickly." "How quickly?" another Velran asked. Hana considered the question. "Depends on where you landed. If you ended up in the ocean, maybe a few minutes before something ate you or you drowned. In the desert, maybe a day before the heat or dehydration got you. In the Arctic, probably a few hours before you froze. In the jungle, hard to say. Could be minutes or days depending on what found you first." She said it so casually, like she was describing the weather. "Our planet is trying to kill us all the time," Jiho added. "We just got good at not dying." Yuna sat back down slowly. Her mind was racing with questions. How? How do you survive childhood? "Carefully," Minho said with a slight smile. "And with a lot of medical care. Human doctors are very good at putting us back together. But the scars are proof we survived," Hana finished. "Every scar is a story. A moment where we almost died but didn't. We don't see them as shameful. We see them as part of who we are." The restaurant manager cleared his throat. "Minho, please go change." "Ladies, gentlemen, I'll send someone else to finish serving your table." As the three humans walked away, Yuna watched them go. They moved with easy confidence, chatting with each other about shift schedules and weekend plans. Like they hadn't just revealed they came from a planet that would kill most galactic species. Like wearing scars of survival was the most normal thing in the universe. Yuna's friends were quiet now. The celebration mood was completely gone. They looked at each other with uncertain expressions. "I think," Yuna said slowly, "I need to learn more about humans." She had spent the whole night thinking humans were weak. Now she wasn't sure what to think at all. The lights of Nexus Station glittered like stars scattered across the void of space. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at its ports every hour. Inside the massive station, aliens of every shape and size walked through the corridors. Some had scales, others had fur. Some floated in the air, while others crawled on multiple legs. This was the meeting place of the galaxy, where business happened and friendships formed across the stars. On the upper level of the station, there was a restaurant called Starlight Terrace. It had tall windows that showed the beautiful view of space outside. The restaurant was expensive and only wealthy aliens could afford to eat there. The tables were made of smooth crystal, and soft music played in the background. It was the kind of place where important people came to celebrate. Tonight, a group of young Velrans sat at one of the best tables near the window. Velrans were tall and proud, with skin that looked like it was made of colored crystals. They were one of the warrior species in the galaxy, known for their strength and their empire that controlled many planets. The Velrans talked loudly and laughed as they drank their wine. Yuna sat in the middle of her friends, her crystalline skin glowing with a light purple color. She had just been promoted to a high position in her family's trading company. Her friends had insisted on celebrating at the finest restaurant on the station. They had been drinking for 2 hours now, and Yuna felt the warm buzz of alcohol in her head. "Another bottle," Yuna called out, raising her glass high. Her friends cheered and clinked their glasses together. A server appeared at their table within moments. He was shorter than the Velrens, with smooth tan skin and dark hair. He wore the standard uniform of the restaurant, a clean white shirt with black pants. His name tag said Minho in galactic standard letters. "Right away, miss," Minho said with a polite smile. He took the empty bottle and turned to leave. Wait, Yuna said, reaching out to grab his arm. "You're a human, right?" Minho stopped and nodded. "Yes, miss. I am. I've heard about your kind," one of Yuna's friends said with a laugh. "You only joined the galaxy 3 years ago. From some backward planet nobody had ever heard of." "Earth, yes," Minho replied calmly. His expression didn't change. He had clearly heard comments like this before. "How do you survive out here?" another Velren asked. "I heard humans are so weak. Soft skin, brittle bones, no natural weapons at all." "We manage," Minho said simply. "Your wine will be here shortly." He walked away before they could ask more questions. Yuna watched him go. She had seen a few humans on the station before, but had never really paid attention to them. They looked so plain compared to other species. No scales, no claws, no special features, just soft skin and normal faces. She couldn't understand why the galaxy had even accepted them. The wine arrived, and Yuna poured glasses for everyone. As the night went on, she drank more and more. Her head felt light and everything seemed funny. Her friends told jokes about other species, and Yuna laughed until her sides hurt. Minho came back to their table several times. He brought food and cleared plates. He refilled water glasses and made sure they had everything they needed. Each time he remained polite and professional, even when Yuna's friends made rude comments about humans. "I bet they won't last 10 more years in space," one Velren said loudly. "Too weak for real work." "They probably hired him here because he's cheap labor," another added. "I heard humans work for almost nothing because they're desperate to stay off their planet." Minho heard every word. Yuna saw his jaw tighten slightly, but he said nothing. He just did his job and moved to the next table. "He's so patient," Yuna said, her words a bit slurred. "Doesn't even get angry." "Because he knows we're right," her friend replied. "Humans know their place." As the evening continued, Yuna grew more energetic. She stood up and nearly knocked over her chair. Her friends laughed and tried to get her to sit down, but Yuna wanted to move around. She felt powerful and happy, like she could do anything. Minho approached with their final course, carrying a tray of expensive desserts. He placed them carefully on the table, one in front of each guest. "Your final course," he said. "Is there anything else I can get for you tonight?" Yuna looked up at him and smiled widely. "Yeah, sit with us. Have a drink." "I'm sorry, miss, but I'm working," Minho replied politely. "Oh, come on." Yuna reached out to grab him, wanting to pull him into a chair. Her hand caught his arm with more force than she intended. Velrans were much stronger than they looked, and the alcohol made her forget to be gentle. Minho tried to step back, but Yuna's grip was firm. She pulled, and there was a loud tearing sound. His white shirt ripped completely open down the front. Buttons scattered across the floor. The fabric hung in pieces from his shoulders. The entire restaurant went silent. Other diners turned to look. Yuna's friends stared in shock. Even the music seemed to stop. Yuna opened her mouth to apologize, but the words died in her throat. She was staring at Minho's exposed chest and arms. Her purple crystalline skin seemed to lose some of its glow. His body was covered in scars, not just one or two. Dozens of them. Thin white lines crossed his chest. A jagged scar ran down his left arm. There were marks that looked like burns on his shoulder. His ribs showed signs of impact damage that had healed strangely. Near his collarbone there was a surgical scar, perfectly straight. On his right side, 4 parallel lines suggested something with claws had once grabbed him. Yuna's hand slowly released the torn shirt. She had been a warrior in training her whole life. She had studied combat and learned about weapons. She had seen training injuries on her fellow Velrens, but she had never seen anything like this. These were not training scars. These were survival scars. Each one told a story of pain and near death. Minho looked down at his ruined shirt and sighed. "Miss, are you finished? I need to get a replacement uniform." His voice was calm, not angry, not embarrassed. Just tired. Yuna couldn't stop staring. Her mind was suddenly clear, the alcohol's effects completely gone. What happened to you? Minho met her eyes. Around them, the entire restaurant waited for his answer. Life, he said simply. I'm from Earth. The words hung in the air like a challenge, and Yuna realized she had never really understood what that meant.